The fact is that we have experienced in the last 4 years probably the most racist and xenophobic and homophobic and bigoted presidency in our lifetimes. And half of America voted for it. So I think it is a point that we need to take very seriously, that Trumpism is not a fluke. It is a reality in American political and cultural life. And therefore, it necessitates more than ever that we have laws in place that protect us from those that would treat us, whether it is physically in terms of a George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, or whether it is in the corporate world or the educational world. We are in a country that still has no problem with openly supporting bigotry. And I think that if we are to go forward, however the next administration is, we need to go forward with that reality that everyone does not share the basic premise that all men are created equal and ought to be treated that way.
I would love to hear your take on what's going on and what we should be making of the opportunity for change right now.
You know, in some ways, I have no idea what's going on because everything feels so uncharted and unprecedented. In a normal world, we would have a government that saw that we were facing a coronavirus pandemic and do something about it. And instead, we live in a world where our government has literally chosen to do nothing about it, has hoped that perhaps it might just run its course like the common cold. And against that backdrop, we also have an administration that is trying to take away health care from more than 20 million Americans. We have a government that is actively interested in disenfranchising the most marginalized voters. And we have an administration that does not care about the millions of Americans who are currently going hungry and who are struggling to find ways to take care of their children while they also work full-time jobs when most school systems are not functioning. It's incredibly chaotic. And then, of course, there is also the ongoing systemic racism and protests against police brutality, extrajudicial murder, and just the casual indifference of police departments everywhere to Black lives.
We are seeing these massive protests in the streets, not just in Detroit, but in cities all over the country. And I guess my question for you is, how did we get to this place where police and the communities that they are supposed to be keeping safe have so many tensions between them, and where that relationship seems to have broken down in so many places and in so many ways?
Well, you know, Steve, I think the best thing we have to start with what's going on in Detroit, what's going on in the national landscape. You know, as many of your viewers know, that Detroit was the exception when you compare the images we saw of rioting, full-blown riots in other big cities. We're talking about looting, buildings being burned, police officers being attacked. And what we didn't see in Detroit, and while the first few nights, certainly there was violence, but there was no looting, no large-scale riot. And so the question is, why not Detroit? And so when you talk about the relationship between the Detroit Police Department and our community, I believe it's well above average. We didn't wait for the tragic death of Mr. Floyd to start trying to build trust-based relationships with our community. We didn't start then. This has been a framework and institutionalized in our department since I've gotten here, because you can't wait and respond. So that's number one. If we're going to talk about some of the other cities, clearly the relationships were already fractured.
So the current state of things with Black Lives Matter is actually maybe more of a complicated question than you might assume. This recent moment has been very interesting. We've seen a massive uptick in our traffic on our website, going from a couple emails a week to hundreds of emails a day. And in one sense, we really appreciate that new energy. On the other sense, it's slightly frustrating because we haven't gone anywhere, right? We've been here, we've been doing work. And I think what a lot of people don't realize about Black Lives Matter in specific is that we are an organization with affiliate chapters, and we run programs, and we have to do the same type of fundraising as any other group. The primary difference is that our individual chapters have a lot of autonomy as to what we choose to focus on. And that's based upon the idea that what we need in Detroit is completely different from what you might need in Louisville or in San Diego. And so I think this recent movement has been obviously of benefit in some senses because it's kind of refocused the attention on the movement for Black lives. And it's our job now to make sure that we can leverage that and continue that momentum, because this moment for us doesn't fade away. We continue to do the work long after the cameras have stopped rolling.
Yeah.
As a Black woman, I completely understand why African Americans and other minorities may be skeptical of the healthcare system. And I certainly recognize that racism does exist in the healthcare system. So there's no question about that. But I also think it's important that we look at the process and we understand the data and the facts, and that we use that to inform our decisions on what we want to do. I can tell you that even though it appears that the vaccine approval process is fast, it actually, no steps have been skipped at all in the vaccine approval process. So all of that data, all the facts about these trials, again, tens of thousands of people have been involved in these trials for this vaccine. It will not be approved. And quite frankly, I will not allow it to be distributed throughout the state of Michigan unless there is data that shows that it is safe and effective. This virus has devastated minority communities across the entire country. And this is the one tool that we have that will help bring that curve down and eliminate that disparity. So it's really important that we take a strong look at getting this vaccine. And I would say, especially for minority communities, we don't want to expand that disparity any more than it already exists.
Yeah, so this wasn't randomly done. We looked at what the guidance that was issued by the CDC, OSHA, the Michigan's state opening plan, looked closely at the American Federation of Teachers document, AFT, and tried to put all of that together based on the reality that COVID has disproportionately impacted Detroit in the Black community. So we knew that our plan had to be deeper, had to have more protections in it, more safety features than, let's say, districts up north or even to the west of Detroit. And so this is a collection of our best thinking based on the research that's out there, the medical best practice. And now it's about engaging stakeholders internally, externally about how they feel about it. Where are we right? Where are we missing the mark? What needs to be adjusted? What needs to be added? And so far, the conversations have been positive. I think people recognize that this plan does look different from what they've seen from other districts, but that doesn't mitigate the fact that folks are full of anxiety, especially our most veteran teachers. They're worried about coming back, and they have legitimate reasons to worry because they're in a health category that's more at risk. But I think what I've been saying is we can't start the conversation with no, and we can't end the conversation with no. So what do we do differently? What do we do better to make you feel more at ease?
I was having a chat with one of my agents, and I used a line. I said, I'll see you on the other side. Mm-hmm. She said, oh, her name is Jeannie Sorensen. She said, oh, that's a song title. You ought to work on that. This was about 10 days ago.
Yeah. Wow.
So I immediately stepped in on it, called the guys, see if they wanted to participate, and we put a little something together. Yeah. Have you heard it? Did you like it?
I've heard it. I actually like it quite a bit.
We'll see you on the other side. We'll see you.
Brothers and sisters all over the world, these times are tough, we can't be deterred. We've got the power, embrace make it through. We'll fight together for humanity. We'll stay the course and we'll have a victory. And I'll see you